Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with yet another episode of What Now? And today is a ladies' marathon sort of day. I thought, let's talk about us women as well, because yesterday our guests were talking about love, everything about love, and which sort of, being a woman, it connects to me. And I know that in these difficult times, women are sort of playing the role of midwives of the soul. That's what is believed in the ancient wisdom traditions and indigenous cultures, that women are those midwives who carry, during times of transition and trauma or suffering, they carry this, women carry all this trauma and suffering within themselves. And some of us who have been the light workers, the empaths, who are working with this high frequency, Sufis, spiritual traditions, we are more sort of in tuned, and we get these premonitions of the disaster. Some of us were feeling it already before it came, and now it's here. So let's hear it from my very beautiful, wonderful, distinguished lady friends from all around the world. So we have Mandira Srivastava. She is a dance therapist and metaphysical practitioner. She's joining us from India, Goa. And Mandira thinks of life as a dance. I mean, how beautiful is that? With each person dancing to the best of a different drummer. And she is professionally present for those who wish to find their own unique rhythm. So Mandira will be talking to us about the rhythm and how she is connected to this rhythm, and how is this rhythm of transition, how is she feeling about it. Then we have my very dear friend and fellow transformer, Louia. She's joining us from Brussels. And Louia is a transition process steward and systemic thinker for collective transitions. Louia helps navigate complexity and embrace uncertainty and create spaces to heal, restore, and live in. And then we have Miriam joining us from Belgium. Miriam is a master of Shambhala multi-dimensional healing. She will be sharing with us her views about environmentally inflicted illnesses, such as electromagnetic hypersensitivity, EHS, which requires a holistic approach. Then we have my friend Atiya Khan joining us from Karachi, Pakistan. And Atiya she's a supermodel, Pakistan's first ever supermodel, I believe. And she's recently made a documentary called Kalandar Code, The Rise of the Divine Feminine, and it's about the concept of divine feminine in Islam and Sufism. And she's documented the secret tradition of the escape of Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. So here we are, ladies. This was the introduction. And I'm going to start with what I was talking about, love and the energetic and morphic resonance that if we all believe, I believe we are going to discuss this, that by changing our energetic resonance on just one issue, we change the entire morphic resonance of that issue for the world. So simply sharing this information with other like-minded people can cause a knock-on effect. I mean, I believe in that, and I'm sure you would believe in that. And this is why we are doing this show, to bring all those voices together. And what we are saying, the basic idea is that we are at this stage of the age of Aquarius, and we are now into the 5D dimension, and how is our consciousness is now raised. And if it is raised, I mean, I'll ask all of you this question, that how are we transitioning, and especially what is the role of women, the feminine, are we performing our ritual of being those midwives of the soul? So I'm going to give 5 minutes each to start with, so you can introduce not just yourself, but your work in relation to these questions. So starting with Mandira.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So I call my body of work Awaken the Dance Within. But I don't only work with dance, I work with counseling and emotional release and color and crystal therapy. With special attention on emotional intelligence, emotional release, because as human beings, we collect emotion in our body minds, and when we're not able to release that safely, we are the energy within our system is affected and blocked by that. And definitely during this time, I think it's really important to be able to make sure that we are all releasing energy in safe and healthy ways so that we can maintain a higher, healthier vibration. Because I also think that this is what I attempt to live by and also teach to my clients and whoever comes in touch with me, is to be the change, at all times of what we want to see in this world. And for me, it applies at all times, not just now. It's always been the work, and it's always going to be the work. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mandira. So over to you, Miriam. Welcome.
Thank you. I think it's very important. What
That's yes. Is it you?
No, who's rooster?
Yes, rooster, chicken, falcon. I mean, we have them all.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's
Miriam.
great because it's a sign that we should spread our wings and that we are free inside. And I wanted to say that I agree with Mandira that we women have to give the right example. We have to radiate love. We have to tell the men that we know, stop making war, don't do unto others that you don't want them to do to you. Keep your vibration high, meditate, pray, and especially we women together, we are very strong, stronger than you think. And I think we should work together with at least 14 women every time to achieve a certain goal. For example, if you want peace in your village, to start small, start with 14 women who live around you and try to concentrate and pray for or meditate on the same thing, focus.
Thank you. Over to you, Louia.
First of all, thank you, Anita,
Welcome.
for your invitation. My work is especially focused on creating coherence among groups, and with groups I'm seeing all kinds of forms, being it teams working together, intentional communities, groups of women, groups of men, groups of mixed gender, of all genders, of all abilities. Knowing that if one step is, of course, creating an own inner coherence through daily practice, hygiene, nurturing ourselves in whatever way that serves and feels aligned to our own journey and background, culture, belief, whatever that is. But then the next step that I feel this beautiful designed art piece of crisis we are in is inviting us is to create coherence among each other. Knowing only then there is a deeper health and falling in place again, not only towards the future to come, not only in the present, but also realigning something of what we are carers and guardians of what has come before us. For me as a woman, I don't feel I have another role than another man. For me, the feminine is non-sexual how do you call that? Has nothing to do with my physical gender.
Gender.
Yeah.
And so I just want to bring that nuance, that I do not want to create a world between polarities of men and women, but a joint venture between all the different ways of contributing from a sacred, from an aware, and from a healthy place of inner care towards an outer care. And I'm saying that because I think there are enough reasons in the past and even now seeing that we actually, with the best intention, recreate the patterns that have brought us to the now. And yeah, there is just a high awareness for me. What is mine to do as a person, as a being, as a soul, as a spirit, incarnated in a woman's body? How do I live that in my relationship to my partner and husband? How do I live that with my female friends, with my male friends, with my friends that have outed themselves as bisexual, transgender, all these names that I'm very bad in knowing the codes. So the ones who listen to this recording, please apologize. I'm not so well versed in all these codes and words that help to open up our horizon of all the multiple ways of identifying ourselves and also showing up to a world that is just calling us forward. I do feel that the feminine aspect is something that is called forward at this time, both in men and in women. And it's for me not only related to a deep care and holding space, but also fierceness. Also that what can clarify a path, that can say, here is a natural, normal, healthy boundary. The one that also can give a container that gives structure as well as a sense of I can lean in and feel safe. And I personally feel in that process we are in, I'm the one getting born, I'm the one birthing, and I'm helping to birth / midwifing at the same time, personally as well as collectively.
Thank you.
That's from my...
Beautiful. Atya?
So in my research with my documentary, which kind of there's a parallel tradition of Fatima, the daughter of our prophet, having come to these sacred caves in Balochistan, which got me researching about the concept of the divine feminine, and how that even in Christianity, with the concept of Mary Magdalene's escape to the caves in the south of France, and then going back to the whole concept of the Sakina as being this banished principle of the divine feminine, and how the prophecies also talk about that the Messiah age, or the age of change, will be heralded with the return of the divine feminine. So, what is the divine feminine? I agree with the idea that it's not about gender. I mean, gender has something to do with it, but there's the divine masculine and feminine in all of us, and how to nurture it, and why, because I don't think so much atrocities could have been perpetuated if we were holding the divine feminine as sacred in our lives. The divine feminine had to be banished and put under the carpet to be able to perpetuate the kind of a tyranny and oppression that we have seen in the world. And I think a lot of traditions are now agreeing, and a lot of signs are there that we are sort of coming towards the end of times, and there is very much a need of a new sort of messianic kind of energy to come and shift us from within and evolve individually and collectively to really be able to survive. And that is sort of heralding the return of the banished principle of the sacred feminine. And how do we rediscover that? How do we embrace that? How do we return it to that place of honor that it deserves has been a large part of my work.
Very nice. Beautiful. So then coming back to the question of feminine, not just womanhood, the feminine in, the masculine and feminine. So Mandira, because you work with the flow and the rhythm, but you do know that there have been atrocities and, trauma that women are carrying, particularly women. I'm not saying that men aren't. Yes. Men are also carrying that trauma within. But say, for example, in the parts of the world that you, me, and Atya are from, and other parts of the world, women have suffered a lot, So that trauma is still within us. It's within our, not just DNA, as Louia knows, it's, that it has to be healed. And Louia and I have spoken about it a lot. She knows that there was a time she's also seen me going through this when I was on this journey of my PhD. And I realized that, my own mother could not connect to where I was going to. And, there's like different separate paths, and it just made me so upset. And I shared this with Louia, that it's this transgenerational trauma that there is there, and especially for women as well. So can you please tell us that this dance or the flow you talk about, should we all be now dancing to this rhythm of life? It's the rebirthing. Yes.
Definitely. So it's called the March of the Grandmothers sometimes, this, carrying forward the patriarchy through women, because those generations did not have as many options as perhaps we did, or you and I did. And even if they did, maybe they weren't strong enough to be able to follow through. But in my own personal case, I did come to understand that, yes, each one of us beyond gender have masculine and feminine energies. And we need to own both those energies within ourselves, activate and own and use them appropriately. So, and I did want to, as I kind of reclaimed my power and attempted to live in the world as a complete person and without being dependent on men as I had previously been, or as I had been raised to be. It was about a delicate balance that I had to maintain, and which is why I found that being emotionally aware and healthy and responsible helped me to stay balanced, and also to be able to navigate the difficulties which still exist. So again, I would focus a lot on emotional responsibility, which I also call personal power, or our spiritual power, or our godhood within, and to work.
When we talk about emotions, isn't it just still, still I feel it's women. We bring those feelings and emotions into it. Say, for example, my co-host Mark, who's not here today because I said today is just ladies only, sorry. But we're talking about the economics of love. So if a new charter of love, as I shared with all of you, and there's still, I feel there's this blockage still, that when you bring women into equation, we start talking about the feelings, we start talking about this, we are open about our feelings and emotions, but then there is like, no, in this domain of business or say economics, emotions, you can't account for those feelings and emotions.
Right.
Yes. So do you think this transition that we are going through is, maybe Louia can come in, are we birthing this new tradition of love, maybe, that we have to now keep on resonating? And please share whatever you have in mind.
I'd like to say that because of the conditioning, at least more so in our parts of the world, where the men are supposed to be stoic and the women are allowed excessive emotionality, Women have permission to be emotional, whereas men don't. And that's what has been coming forward. And yes, hoping that this is like a complete reset for our world, and you know, what we would in the Gurdjieff tradition call a stop moment, where everything comes to a standstill, and we are hopefully forced, or we make an effort to consciously look at what this means for all of us. So, but I would like to say there are some men also who have balanced energies, and who are also emotionally aware and healthy and intelligent. So again, it's beyond gender, right? So feelings, love, and all the other feelings are also beyond gender. We as persons, as humans, have all those feelings. And again, I would say we need to refine and refine those feelings and move forward from here. Thank you.
Maybe what just comes up, that for me there is also a difference between being with one's feeling or emotions, and then how do I express that? Because if I share it in a way, just owning it myself, or I can also spit it out and almost like using it as a almost a weapon to attack others, or to spoil the atmosphere, or to, like, so it's also for me what you're sharing, building on that, Mandira, is also what is the responsibility and the ownership when I feel, how do I use it wisely, so that it can be helping me as well as helping the group.
Of course.
I personally, in my surrounding, I meet a lot of men who are really searching, seeking new ways of like finding themselves in their bodies or in their ways of interacting.
Sure.
I feel a lot of insecurity in that. And I personally, in the relations that I have directly, I feel just even how we create space together, like we always check in with silence and arrive together, or like just something that brings us all into another frequency together, helps a lot, to kind of come to a common way of like, how do I show up? How do I take responsibility? How do I share authentically how I am present now? That can be with my emotions, but that can also just be with a state of presence.
Yeah, so my question basically is that the trauma, the patriarchal trauma maybe within our consciousness or unconsciousness, do you think that this is the time that we are clearing this trauma, or can we go the other way as well? Because there are some people who are still talking about, I mean, some of us are saying there's a new normal now. I mean, I'm into the 6th week of lockdown and it's normal. I mean, I don't feel anything is missing in my life, but there are people who are still talking about going back to the normal, what was life for them. So are we still holding that trauma inside? That's what I'm thinking, that how do we then work on this collectively? And that's why I ask you, because you work on the systemic constellations as well. Can we ask you to clear all this trauma as well?
This time as a time where we are invited to heal, and also to acknowledge that some people may not have that as their calling, as their path, as their purpose, and also to be okay with that. And I do think we are all suffering from what we can call patriarchy, everyone, including nature. So it's more a question of like, how do we, and there again, what I said before, of like, how do we consciously create spaces and the preconditions where we can meet in a new way, each step of the way, like not one big, for example, systemic constellation or healing event will do it. And I also want to
consciously make an effort, all of us.
And daily. And I think I also do want to acknowledge all the people who are still living or have already passed, who have been dedicating their lives to that over the past decades, centuries. Like we are just like one little drop more. The question is now, how do we, and therefore I'm so grateful that you invited us, how do we, across different cultures, backgrounds, places, disciplines, methods we use, how do we align?
Totally.
Also, I think that a lot of this, when we talk about emotions or, feminine emotions, where is it stemming from? Where is it coming from? And I think that perhaps women have a deeper connection to the psychic realms, to the realms beyond time and space. And we get a lot of our guidance and our inspiration from the psychic realms. But that has been so demonized, and, the whole witch trials and kind of, being kind of ridiculed or institutionalized for talking about your connection with the psychic realms, has created this culture of denying such a natural part of the human experience, which is the experience of our being beyond our physical reality, so to speak, the soul experiences that we all have, and in fact are connected through our the psychic realms, the dreamscape, all of those other experiences that we're too scared to talk about and share.
Miriam, we should bring Miriam in as well.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I think it's very important that we empower ourselves and others, but you have to start with yourself. If you don't feel good, you cannot help someone else to feel good. And if you have a problem with your mother or your grandmother, you should talk about it when they are still alive. And maybe even if they're not alive anymore, like my mother, I can still talk to her and say, well, look at me now, I'm trying to do my best, you gave me the right example. And I think a lot of trauma comes also through the generations, and that's why family systemic help is so important. And what I do is Shambhala, so I sit someone down on a chair and I ask the ladies and lords of Shambhala to help this person, so they don't have to tell me what their problem is. It's none of my business. It's the business of them above there to help them. And then I get sometimes a message, for example, you should stop eating meat, or you should stop drinking alcohol, and then they can follow my advice or not. But I think it's very important that I empower those people to help themselves, because they cannot rely on me or someone else all the time to help them. They should be able to help themselves.
Yeah. So I think it's the one of our previous guests spoke about Ho'oponopono tradition, the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono, which is about forgiveness as well. So I think if we have to start anew, it's simple, like I forgive you, I love you, and these are the simple mantras.
Start with yourself, forgiving.
Yes, exactly. This was also my question yesterday. I asked our guests, they've written a book on everything about love, and it's a father and daughter duo. They have both written the book together, and this was my question, that people, unless we can love ourselves, we can't love the other outside of us. And we've been so scared because of all this conditioning, societal conditioning, or being told you are not good enough by our parents, teachers, the society. So there is a lot of trauma work and clearing, and we have to all do at this time of transition. But also, yes, please go ahead.
So I'm a Shambhala master, but I'm also a public relations consultant. I've got my own company, and a lot of men are telling me, oh, you shouldn't put Shambhala master on your LinkedIn profile together with your PR consultancy. I'm like, yes, I should.
Yeah.
I don't care what people think of me.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're still being told. I know. It's like, oh, you're fat, you're very sensitive, you always get told by others, and which of course it sinks in and you keep thinking about these things. But Miriam, if you can talk about the holistic approach that you have, the electromagnetic hypersensitivity, and I think you have written on LinkedIn an article about 5G as well. So the interference, do you believe that is an interference into our magnetic fields around us?
Certainly there is. 2G, 3G, 4G, it all interferes with our electromagnetic field. And that's why I tell everybody, don't use Wi-Fi. Use an Ethernet cable. Use your laptop or your computer. Don't use your smartphone unless it's an emergency. Certainly don't use your smartphone when you're pregnant. It's very bad for people, and 5G is a disaster. I give you an example. If there's a car that is self-driving without a human at the steering wheel, and there's from the right there's a buggy coming rolling, and from the left there's an old man coming, this car cannot make the decision to hit the ball instead of the man. A man can say, oh, I shouldn't hit that man, I better turn right, then I only hit a ball. So it's not necessary to have 5G. I mean, why should we be able to send pictures via our smartphone? Why can we just not do that via our laptop or computer? I don't see the urgency. So that's what I want to say for now about it.
Anyone else has anything to share regarding this? I've seen Atya writing about it a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Because for me, you know, there's all this sort of labeling going on, you know, conspiracy theorists and all of that. But, you know, there just seems to be rushing through this without the proper safety measures and tests. And, you know, there are a lot of questions that are still not answered. And for me, it's just too much of a coincidence, you know, all these deaths so-called by coronavirus, just at the same time as all this 5G towers are being rolled out, or this technology is being rolled out. It's just too much of a coincidence. You know, and the symptoms are very similar, and the test that they're doing with corona is actually testing an enzyme, not a virus, and the enzyme is the result of, you know, the collapse of the respiratory system. So there's there's a, you know, I'm very concerned with how things are.
So I think which also points towards one of our guests from Nigeria, Father Anselm, spoke about nature power, and it's all about holistic, you know, healing and the natural way of living, which basically is like going back to our basics and saying, okay, simple life. We just have created all this trauma and all this you know, environmental damage because we were, you know, it's all about trying this or that, which, as you're saying, hasn't been tested. But then again, there is the other side that people ask for these scientific proofs of everything. Has it been scientifically proven? So, Miriam, do you have anything to say about that? Or anyone for that matter?
Thousands of reports there are. Even if it's only on 3G, if you can imagine 3G accumulated with 4G, it's even worse. It causes cancer. It's just terrible. The only thing you can do if you see that, for example, a phone company puts a mast, a 5G mast or a 4G mast in front of your house, for example, you can send them this notice of non-consent of non-ionizing radiation. And I mean, they are literally putting some people in a microwave, because I'm electro-hypersensitive myself, and I've had to flee because of the radiation, and I'm in a good place now, but it's very hard to find one, and I had to recover from it. And everybody can become electro-hypersensitive because they will be over-radiated sometimes, and you can recover from it, but it's a holistic approach You should be going out in nature a lot. But if there's an antenna right in the middle of the woods, then you have another problem. So it's very important that you keep protesting and telling the government, listen, you didn't take any precautionary measures, you didn't do any research, you're not listening to the research that has been done. The World Health Organization is being bribed by the telecom industry. It's just not fair what is happening, but we can do something about it. We are powerful.
I think in a way,
yes, let's go.
For me, this topic, and I agree, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of coincidences at the same time, and this is all part of a higher hidden plan. For me, this goes all together also with these patriarchal patterns that are still rolling out, not between men and women necessarily, but between levels of power,
and power and greed and structures.
It's one expression, one manifestation where you can see again, like whole petitions. I was just shocked now here in Belgium. There was a huge petition, several ones with huge numbers of signatures. They all got deleted. They all got, like, really? you just even see, you pretend, or you try as a good citizen, show up what you can. And even there they have power to take the block out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm laughing now. I'm not laughing at it. I'm very serious, but like, it just puzzles me of how deep the power influence goes, where I just want to also be gentle with us as citizens, no matter where we live, no matter what we can do. Like, there's just this day-to-day staying within all the intensities, creating a sphere of calm and ease in our system, and not getting over anxious or over worried or over angry with all these things is so crucial, because I have a certain radar of influence that I can use to have a way of changing that system. And then to balance, like, where do I get angry, annoyed, upset, overwhelmed, feeling completely put behind prison in a way, and
It's just the fact that Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, they all censor whatever is against 5G. And well, we'll have to deal with it, and we'll have to get around it. And so I'm trying to do.
But the question is, do we have that power, Louia, as citizens of a country, of the world? Do you think the power lies with the people, with all of us?
I think we're all co-responsible to the situation we are in. And I don't want to blame either or. And yes, we may not have an influence right now, today. But if I do not cultivate my own ownership in it, even though it may seem abstract, for me this is part of Ho'oponopono or the Rainmaker story. Like, what lies outside is within. And if I can use my own system, my own instrument, as a way where I can transform stuff, no matter how abstract and far away they seem, the more I can do that, the more we can do that, the more people that are doing it. I do have a sense that, and I don't want to put a timeline on that, we do have power, but I do think we don't use it at the moment still well, honestly. Like, speaking collectively, like generally.
So I totally, Amandira?
I was just going to say that I firmly believe that collective transformation can only happen through individual transformation. And as we continue to live in the healthiest ways possible as individuals and make those choices by which we actually, undo those things that are available to us in terms of technology, etc. We that power we do have as consumers, and much more.
Well, do we really? I mean, now they're talking about mandatory vaccination. Nobody's asking me. They're putting up 4G, 5G towers in front of my house. they've started censoring heavily YouTube, Facebook, all the social platforms that we thought were, free and not like mainstream media are now being controlled, censored. So are we not losing slowly our liberty and freedom and choice?
May I say something about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
I'm a public relations consultant as well, so I know a lot about how the media work. And there are journalists who are being threatened by the telecom industry not to say anything negative about 5G. I know personally someone whose house was lit on fire by the telecom industry. So we are not letting them censor us. We are putting this on YouTube, and even if it's removed 5 minutes later, we will put it on another channel and another channel and another channel. And all this information is being shared by the right people, because up there they know what they're doing, and they're knowing who to give the information to and who can use it the best.
So yeah, so it continues, our struggle continues. I think we have to consciously do it, as Louia also said, that there is a fine line. We, of course, all of us would feel angry about it, but if we practice Ho'oponopono as well, we have to also forgive, the enemy, and then see that the enemy lies within all of us as well. It's the greed, and that's the ill, the dis-ease within our own souls that I mean, Mark and I keep talking about. He would bring everything back to, but it's about money or economics. And I would say, no, Mark, it's not just about economics, but it is really. It's about possessions. It's about power. It all, stems from there, and control. But I don't know, how do you feel about this? Anyone, about this greed that we have? I mean, it's like whenever, it's like there forever in our consciousness.
Recently, and it's been sort of again hushed up because of this new coronavirus thing, but what did we find out with the whole Epstein scandal? Is there actually an elite global pedophile satanic network, that has a very different agenda, and through certain practices or certain rituals, they're able to gain and garner more and more power and control. So I mean, it has come to such a stark kind of a question in my mind, like, what was going on there? Are we dealing with
Yes,
something beyond just normal, bad human, good human? Is there like sort of, the dark forces at work as well? So, and very dark agendas is something to sort of think about now.
Unfortunately, it is so shocking that you can hardly believe it, but it is true. There is this network of people who even chase children in the woods, children that they have kidnapped, and they chase them, and they have a chasing party in the woods, and they kill them. And it's really shocking, but it's really happening. And it's also dark energy, but of course, if there's no light, you cannot see the dark. If there's no dark, you cannot see the light. So we are all one. We are all drops. Our souls are all drops in the ocean. If you make a wave on one side, you will feel it on the other side. So if we keep radiating love, eventually we will also change, and they will start reflecting love back.
Yes.
That's a beautiful message. I think this is what we need to do. You're welcome to share your views, Louia, Mandira.
Well, just again wanted to say that that's why it's so important to be emotionally aware and emotionally healthy, so that we can keep, again, like I said earlier, raising our vibration and really coming from a space of love, because I do understand that there are dark forces and light forces, and we have to keep powering the light and the love, and let that hopefully overcome, or at least maintain, the the balance in the favor of
Yeah.
love and light.
And I think since time immemorial, this has been there, the dark
course,
and the light.
absolutely.
It's not a new battle, or we are not in this new fight. Louia?
I mean, I just feel it's important to how can I say? Yes, this is all, and we all know or don't know if it's true or whatever, and what has happened in the past, and what may have led these people also to become that or do that, or like for me, there's always like wow, what must have happened in these so-called perpetrators of these scales, that is possible. Like I'm having personally, I have a curiosity, not to say it's good what they're doing, the opposite, but like what, because I can't understand and grasp it.
It's mainly grief.
Yeah,
but like what led to that? Like really,
I have another theory or question. It's perhaps about demonic possession, and trauma can lead to a certain gap where these demonic entities can actually possess people. So are we actually talking about, humans and demons coexisting right now? And they obviously, the demonic beings have a completely different makeup, mindset, tolerance for unspeakable, acts. Because we tend to think that, oh, we're all human, and there's some good human and there's some bad human, and the bad humans will learn and they'll become good humans. But what if we're not even dealing with human to human? Because some of these things is beyond human. I can't see any human, no matter how bad or whatever, being able to go there.
Exactly, and that's why my curiosity is like there is something else that we are called to deeper understand. And I wouldn't personally, I'm interested and intrigued to understand it, not to fight it, to create a sense of compassion and also mastery in myself to how to meet that in a healthy way, in an equal way. So, because I agree, there's probably most trauma involved that creates some form of whatever you call that, depending on also your belief system. Again, is it demons? Is it extraterrestrials? I mean, there are tons of stories out there, and I can see all of them being true. So my curiosity is more like, how can we use our own, again, emotional established mastery?
Yeah, and raise our own vibrations, frequency too. Yeah. I think Mandra needs to say something.
So I was just going to say, bottom line, whether it's the dark and the light, or the good and the evil, whether it's the overblown patriarchy in relation to the feminine energy, it's a power game basically. It's about persecution and submission. It's about gaining power over others, one way or the other. And I'm hoping that in a more feminine way, that we are now moving towards a world which has more collaboration in it, rather than the stronger and the weaker. And I think that is definitely a feminine, that is a divine feminine arising. And again, for those of us who can understand it and realize it would be great for us to be able to examine ourselves, our lives, our relationships, our connections, to see how we can convert them into partnerships and collaborations rather than.
Yes, definitely. Collectively, I think we have to keep on exploring collectively. And this is the morphic resonance I believe in as well. Because what if we keep chanting love and the message goes, it will reverberate. It can't just go amiss. That's
Yes,
how I believe as well. Like,
absolutely.
Adya has something else
Yeah,
to say.
I have like just two questions. So number one, I feel that in the last 20 years, women kind of took on the masculine energy to just be able to succeed and survive in sort of this masculine environment that we found ourselves in. And men sort of gave themselves permission to kind of explore more their feminine, softer, gentler side. So I find a lot of men much more in tune with the feminine energy, and a lot of women full of the masculine energy, number one. Number two, you know, I just don't buy it. I don't buy this, oh, feminine energy is just so beautiful and good and loving and blah, blah, blah. No, the feminine energy can be a bitch. I mean, feminine energy can be really nasty, horrible, controlling, and very much feeding the dark side as well. So again, you know, all feminine energy good, masculine energy bad is very very polarized thinking, I feel, you know. So again, it's about honoring the divine masculine and the divine feminine, you know, as opposed to the lower or the negative aspects of the feminine or the masculine energies.
Yeah. The shadow aspect. Yeah.
Definitely. I think this is what all of us are saying. It's about balancing it.
Yes.
So it's not just, yes, the patriarchal patterns, even in women as well, have done damage to families.
They perpetuated it, and they do it in the most insidious way.
Yes, exactly. Within families, I think the family structure has suffered from that.
Yeah, so it was a mother-in-law who was torturing the daughter-in-laws and vice versa, and you know what I mean, or the wives and the, you know, so the women and the female energy or feminine gender, whatever, has played a very dirty role as well.
Yeah, so I think it's the collective trauma, the collective trauma that we are holding in our super consciousness or unconsciousness.
Yes. And I'd like to share here, as I did with you the other day, Anika, that taking it upon myself to break those patterns, you know, the famous mother-in-law story, and not carrying it forward with my son's partner. That's the way I've chosen to break the pattern there, rather than say, oh, it was done to me, now I'm going to do it to someone.
Surely. Yeah. I would say we have taken this leap into the next evolution, the consciousness that we now are saying, okay, so this was my mother or mother-in-law. I'm not going to be this way as well. So I'm sure we have learned from that.
Yeah. And that power always lies within us, or with us, the power of choice.
Yeah. What I found for me personally in my life really important in that process of like, what do I take forward and what do I shift from what I've been given, is also to understand where it has come from them, not assuming that even it has been, you know, I'm not saying that because someone said that, but for me that was really an important shift of actually understanding, like, wow, that deep it has been, like, and that maybe, like multi-generational build up of things that is so huge, and they still stood there and cared in their best way possible. That seemed often maybe the other way around. To also acknowledge the resilience that laid in that to still continue life somehow. And yeah, for me that was personally a lot of important moments of healing, personally and in our family system, things that seemed off.
I think the day I also understood the trauma my mother was carrying was the day I healed myself.
Sure.
Because, you know, I made peace with it. I understood. Whereas before it used to upset me a lot. And then I realized, oh no. So it wasn't her. And as Louia, we've had these chats, and I had to also look back and see what the trauma the women in my family were carrying. So, you know, the day you understand it, it's the day of your own freedom as well.
Yes, the day you grow up and the day you can look at your parents and others as individuals going through their own journey in life and be able to then make different choices.
Beautiful. Well, that was so enlightening. Anyone else is free to say anything, a parting word or message or whatever. But I hope we can continue this as well.
Yes, it would be wonderful.
Yes,
There's
Maria.
a radio DJ here in Belgium, for Mostangi Radio. He had a good idea, or she, they're a duo, a man and a woman. And every night at 8 o'clock, they make everybody come out and stand on the step of their front door and sing All You Need Is Love from the Beatles. And then
Wow, that is so beautiful.
maybe it's a good idea if we try to do that too, worldwide.
Yes,
Yes.
of course, of course. Okay, thank you so much, ladies. This was wonderful. And I hope to meet you in person. Yes, Mandira?
Sorry to interrupt you. I have a
No,
little
no.
request. So I just realized today, because I live on my own, and I realized I'm really, really wanting hugs and missing hugs.
Aww.
So here's
Group
hugs.
hug. Oh, bless you. Bless you. Lots of love, ladies. And stay connected. I'm sure I'll bring more women on board and let's create some noise. Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Stay well. Stay
Bye.
well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.